Hey guys, Gabriel with Vape Durango here. I got another Fix-It video for you guys. Today we're going to be working on the IPV V3 Mini. And the most common problem with this device is your bottle will be full of juice, your atomizer will be full of juice, yet when you go to push the fire button, it will say no liquid. Now, this device doesn't actually have that problem yet, but it is a brand new device that came out of the box. So I'm willing to bet that the pump is going to be bad in this one too, so we can go ahead and rip this thing apart and fix it. Only things that you guys are going to need to repair this device are going to be obviously your IPV V3 Mini. We're also going to need a T5 Torx, a precision Phillips head screwdriver, mine is a 0, and then a small, thin, sharp blade. I'm using an Exacto. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the atomizer off of the 510. Now, there are two different panels. There is a large back panel and there is a thin front panel. We're going to want to remove the T5 out of the thin front panel. So go ahead and remove the T5 screw out of there. And I'm going to get my little screw holder. All right, so now flip it over to the back. You're going to have a screw right here. Also a T5. Every screw that we're going to be working on besides the Phillips head ones inside the pump are going to be T5s. Remove the T5 from the bottom left-hand corner of this device. Next thing we're going to need is our Exacto Blade. We need to remove this panel off of the back. The panel is held on by a double-sided 3M style adhesive. I will grab a thin blade right here. I'm going to slip this down around the left side. We're going to pry this panel up. And we're going to go very carefully and we're going to separate this panel from the device. Set that off to the side. There's one more screw that is underneath here. We're going to pull this out and set that off to the side as well. Now we're going to flip our device over. Every screw that we need to take out has already been taken out, and now we can just remove this top panel. So this top panel comes off. Take the buttons out. There is this little foam pad that's attached to the printed circuit board and the pump respectively. We're going to pull that bad boy off as well. Be very careful with this. Set that off to the side as well. Bink! Now, we're going to take this white wire and we're going to move that back. And then we're going to remove this pump. And there's going to be a little metal dowel down here that the bottom line connects into, and we're just going to remove that. So just pull that off. Now, you've got the pump here in your left hand, and you've got two screws exposed. These are our two Phillips head 0 screws. We're going to go ahead and remove both of these. There is one. And let's take this second one out. There's number 2. Now, this little top piece is going to come off. This is actually the bottom of the pump, so the bottom is going to come off this pump. And then this little center piece may come out, may not come out. But let's go ahead and take the line out of the pump like that. We'll remove this center piece just so it doesn't get lost. And now what you're left with is the bottom of the pump exposed and then this line. So where we're having problems and why the juice is not feeding is in this little rubber line that we've got here. It's been sitting for too long and two sides of this rubber line have gotten stuck together, so no juice can pass in or out of this line. It's very easy to fix. Do not stick anything metallic down the 510. I know there are other videos on YouTube telling you to just stick a piece of Kanthal or something down there. That's the worst thing that you could possibly do. Any metal punctures this line, and whenever you do fix it, the pump starts to go. It just starts squirting juice all over this printed circuit board, the battery assembly. Just don't do that. This is the proper way to do this. So you're going to see our little kink is right here in this line. All you're going to do is just squeeze the opposite way and it will pop that line. There's another one right here. See, it's kind of flat. We're just going to pop that one as well. Sometimes you may have to do it 3 or 4 times for it to actually break through. Sometimes you have to run it in between your fingers. You'll get the idea. And every once in a while, you may have to stick a small, thin piece of Kanthal or something down in there. But that is the last ditch effort. I've always been able to fix these by squeezing the lines out with my fingers. So once you think you've gotten all of your little kinks taken out, what I want you to do is to blow through right here and make sure the air is coming out of this 510. Air is coming out of the 510, so we're good to go. Let's start reassembling this device. So I want you to take your pump and stick it in your left hand. You're going to take your pump line and put it in your right hand. Before we do that, let's grab that little centerpiece for the pump right here and stick that back into the bottom of the pump. Now, with your pump in your left hand and your line in your right hand, I want you to cross this right hand over the left and bring that pump line into the left channel. Push it down into that channel. Then what you're going to do is you're going to wrap this line around the pump and bring it back down to this channel right here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this little bottom of that pump that we had earlier and we're going to put this back on here. Let's grab our 2 number 0 Phillips head screws and we're going to screw this line, or pardon me, we're going to screw this bottom part back on. Make sure you don't torque this down all of the way. You just want to make it to where it's nice and snug and the screw goes all the way down to the bottom. Do not wrench the crap out of it. If you do, you're going to be presented with the same problem of the juice not being able to be pumped up to your 510. Screw the second one back in. Now we're going to need to reconnect this line to that little dowel that we had earlier. This is where I use these little ceramic tweezers. If you've got small hands, you can get in there. I've got small hands, I'm just lazy. So let's take this, affix this back onto that dowel right there. Sometimes you may need to choke up on it a little bit in order to get it on that dowel, but just keep wrestling with it and you will end up getting it. And once you do get that thing slipped over there, I want you to just pull that line all the way to the bottom and make sure that everything is nice and secured. You don't want this coming off later on. Now, second thing is let's put this back the way it was. So we're just going to push this pump down. The line goes behind it. This line lives right here. And remember that white wire was holding that line in place. Now, before we put anything back together, such as this and all the screws and all that kind of stuff, I want to take this bottle and we're going to fill it up with a little bit of juice and we're going to make sure that that pump is actually working. So I've just got some no-name brand juice here. We're just going to throw about a third. We're just going to fill the bottle up about a third of the way. We're just going to toss enough juice up and down to make sure that the line actually works. So put that back in there. Turn your device on, and then hold your pump up button. And you're going to watch your line and see if the juice is actually pumping through the line. All right, so the juice is still not pumping. I'm actually glad this happened so I can show you guys how this works. So what we're going to do is you fixed everything. Let's just take these screws and back them off a half a turn, if that. Put everything back to where it was originally before we had to go and do this again. If I can get it in. There it goes. Then fold that down on there. And then we're just going to hold that up button one more time and then watch that pump line and make sure that juice is being pumped up. Now the juice is being pumped up perfectly. The bowl is being filled with juice. Our pump is now completely fixed. Let's throw this thing back together, which shouldn't take too much time at all. We're going to take this little pad that we had and slip that over here. And then let's put all our buttons back. Slip this top back on right here. Make sure your buttons are lined up for an easy replacement of this top. As you can see, I kind of got distracted and didn't put it in the right spot. Oh my God, come on. Just gonna use an Exacto Blade and kind of push this button up a little bit. There we go. Now let's dump our screws out and we'll replace all of our screws in the device. Remember the T5 on the top right here. I usually put this one in first because it helps hold the entire device together so we can put all of our other screws back in. Remember we have these 3 on the back to screw in as well. These are all T5s. Now, I was lucky whenever I was taking this apart that we did not lose any of the adhesive on the back of this device, so this panel will go back on nice and easy. If that did not happen for you, grab a Q-tip and some super glue, douse the tip of the Q-tip in some super glue, and then just kind of paint it on here, and then replace your panel. So now that all 3 of those screws are back in, we're going to take our panel, which is kind of curly, and let's bend it back to where it's nice and flat like that. I will always start with the top left-hand corner, and then push this all the way down to the bottom. And then let's just give it a button function test, make sure everything is working properly. And let's try pumping that juice one more time. All the juice seems to be coming up perfectly. And that is basically it, guys. That is how you fix an IPV V3 Mini. No liquid issue. If you guys have any other questions, leave a comment below and like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.